man category for Hayden, who's going to be delivering the kind of keynote. So Hayden, it's good to virtually meet you today. We're looking forward to your presentation. And then Hayden himself is actually a warm-up for the main event, which is the kick-off of the England game at 5 o'clock, which you will all be wanting to get to on time. So we'll make sure that we're away on time for today. So just to run through things for today, just to build on what Sarah said. So this is about hearing from Unlock, how Unlock shapes services, a bit of detail on how co-production works in the trust, about how we embed things, and then we'll be focusing on how co-production is working around the work of the Youth Board and Unlock, and particularly around children and young people in the county. So onto what is co-production. So again, I feel that this might be grandmother sucking eggs, and many of you would have heard this before, but it's just worth, because it is a sort of a topic upon which people have many different definitions, interpretations. So it's worth just restating how it is the trust describes co-production, which is a way of working that involves people who use and care services, carers communities in equal partnership. And that issue about power deficits that traditionally exist between those that provide service and those that receive them and their families and carers is a key part that we're looking to overcome in the way in which we work with people that are stakeholders and users of our services to move into how we co-design the development, the evolution of services, how we can improve our policies, improve our research, how we innovate, and how we communicate more effectively with people that we serve within the county and across the island. It's also about making sure that we maintain and develop a person-centred perspective, and that ties in with all the work that we've been beginning around lived experience workforce and beginning to tap that into the work of the organisation. And those people can advise us on how we can improve outcomes and develop outcomes which are not just about process measures that the NHS is traditionally being kind of assessed on in terms of just things like waiting times numbers, people that are waiting for emergency department assessments, all of which are important, but we also need to have perspectives which kind of reflect what people that use our services regard to important. This is based on the NHS guidance, which is the diagram that you've got on the screen there, which is about the different levels of co-production, which start with people, go through inform, consult, engage, co-design and co-production. And those elements are described there in terms of the work. I'm pleased to say that we've developed that guidance and established what co-production should be about driven through the work of the trust. And I think Dawn's team, and particularly Lucy, who's here today, have done a huge amount of work to actually develop and interpret what those national principles look like for the organisation and how we will work together and ensure that people take part with us. So the share values that many of us have got as our screensavers to the backdrop today. Yes, thank you, Dawn. I got the memo about making sure I had that today. Summarise those principles about S is start early and stay involved, honest and respectful relationships, all voices valued, resources and support in place, and everyone included. And these principles are something that we are going to continue to roll out across the organisation and begin to develop metrics to ensure that the culture of our organisation changes in a way that we kind of change that top-down, maternalistic approach and go into a kind of much more power equity with those that we serve services moving forward. The culture change of the organisation is probably best described in the final slide that I've got, which is about how we kind of develop that ownership and understanding, co-production. So we're doing a huge amount of work to train and develop the messages and across our organisation. Some of it is about creating openness and culture of honesty, which is hugely important because about getting the voice of those that use our services is also about valuing what our staff say and what they regard in terms of those services and tapping into that in a way where in some quarters, I think it's fair to say across the NHS and some of our legacy organisations, people have been fearful about speaking out in terms of what might be wrong about services, but also their ideas for improvement. And we need to create a more honest and open way of staff sharing. And that is about a commitment from all the leadership, from the executive team right through to the wider senior leadership team and the operational divisions, to show that we are sharing power and the way in which we change services, not only with our staff, but citizens and users. there's a huge amount of work that we need to do about clear communications in plain English, and we've made some great progress in that area as well. And from all of these things over a long period, we will achieve that better culture in which people are better valued and respected, and we are valued and integral to the community we serve rather than apart from it, which is, I think, where we've been in the past. So that itself is a whistle-stop tour of our co-production approach and how we are developing those areas. There's more detail in the slide deck. We might be able to share that, Dawn, by agreement. But I think my job now is to hand over to Hayden, who I would love to introduce. But Hayden, it's the first time that we've met, but I've heard great things about you. So are you okay if I hand over to you to introduce yourself, Hayden, a bit about your story as well as the slides that you've got to share with us today? And thank you for helping this event today.
Absolutely. What a pleasure it is to be with you all this afternoon, and I'm really excited for this session. So just a few kind of precursors before we dive in and I share some slides. Number one, I'm really cognizant of your time and the fact that you're giving up your time today. I will intentionally try to run early, recognizing, as James articulated, it would be cruel to not let you, for those who are that way inclined, see the beginning of the England game, which will hopefully be a good outcome today. The second is I don't believe in just talking.
Brian, can I borrow you?
We've got somebody else in the room. Second is that I don't believe in just talking at you, so I will absolutely invite your input using the chat box and where we can, inviting people to unmute if they've got contributions. And no worries, Paul, don't worry about that. We will make sure that you see the start of the England game. And then third and finally, just to kind of give you a framing for what I'm hoping to achieve today, I'm hoping to tell you a bit about me, my story. I'm hoping to tell you a bit about Unlock, how we work with the Trust to co-produce alongside young people, and then to share with you some top tips and things that you can think about to make sure that you're maximising the opportunity that co-production offers us. So that's it in a nutshell. Are we all good? Are we all still here? Give me a thumbs up if you're here. Yes, good stuff. I haven't scared you off as yet. This is a positive start to the session. So I'm going to share my screen with you all now. Hopefully you can see that okay. Is that appearing for you? Just going to skip back to the beginning. Fabulous, good stuff. And I want to start by saying that today is a good day. Today is a good day because we all have air in our lungs. We are all here together, lots of smiley faces on this call, and we're here to discuss something that I think is so important, but is also really proactive. I think it's great that the Trust has created a platform to centre co-production and listening to the voices of the people it seeks to serve. So thank you so much for the invite. Really pleased to be here. So my name's Hayden. Just to introduce myself briefly, I am the co-founder and chief executive of Unlock. We are a non-profit social enterprise that is all about centering young people's voices in policy making, in service design, and ultimately empowering young people to be change makers, to be the architects of the world that they inherit. So that's us as an organization. I'll tell you a bit about my story in a second, but 3 critical facts about me, because I always think it's really important that you get to know the individual behind any presentation that you find yourself in. Fact number 1, I love Oasis. I'm a massive Oasis fan. It's the very first vinyl that I managed to get my hands on. And I absolutely love their music. Just to be clear, I am talking about the band. I did state this fact at FE College recently, and somebody at the back of the room said, "Oi, sir, I love the mango and passion fruit one." So just to be absolutely clear, I'm talking about the band. Massive Oasis fan. Fact number 2, when I was younger, I wanted to be Willy Wonka. I was obsessed with this notion of how you could create chocolate inventions. And I got to make that a reality during COVID when I launched a company called South Sea Chocolate, which then exported to more than 30 different countries, delivering chocolate products that were inspired by the sea. I've since had to part ways. Post lockdown, Unlock has taken over my life. But fact number 2, I wanted to be Willy Wonka when I grew up. Fact number 3, I've actually known my partner since preschool. So I went on a college trip, aged 18. She was on one minibus, I was on the other minibus, and we met for the first time in Venice, which was the destination for this college trip. And afterwards, I came back and told my mum about this incredible woman that I'd met. Her name was Ellie. And she said, yeah, I know. And I was like, what do you mean you know? And she was like, you've known each other since you were children. So she got out my family photo album. And there, on my first birthday, she was next to me. And then on my second birthday, she was next to me. So it turns out that Portsmouth is an incredibly small place. Either that, or indeed my partner's, really been playing the long game. But 3 facts about me, so you get to know me as a human rather than just a name and a job title. I'm going to invite you now just to jump into the chat box. Who are you? What brings you here today? And what sparks joy for you? Just really interested to get to know something about all of the wonderful faces that we've got joining us. So who are you? What brought you today? And what sparks joy for you? I'm going to just give you a minute to do that. And I'd love to be able to see some of those reflections in the chat box. Go for it, guys. And whatever sparks joy for you, I want to hear it, whether it's painting the house, playing football, whatever it is. I would love to hear those reflections in the chat box. Love that, John. Thank you. Hi, Sarah. Great. You'll definitely hear more about Unlock. And I agree with you on Lego. Love that, Carmel. Sing for fun with others. Hi, Suzanne. Oh, your dog Pickles. That sounds incredible. Sally loves squirrels. That's a statement I didn't think I'd say today. Paul, making co-production work. Love that. Good stuff. Somebody loves roller coasters and creativity. We've got Charlotte with us as well. Welcome, Charlotte. She loves walks and cuddling with her dog. Love that. Hey, Rosie. Participation facilitator. That sounds like a great job title. Sewing and your dog. Amazing. Lisa, my garden. Me too, Lisa. I've just got a proper garden and I'm absolutely loving it. I'm killing things that I probably should be keeping alive, but I'm doing my best. We've got Jane with us. Hey, Jane, great to see you. And you love dancing like nobody's watching. Me too. I hope to be doing that later this evening when England have won emphatically against DR Congo. Spending time with your grandchildren. Awesome. We've got Sad from Basingstoke. Amazing. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us, everybody. And great just to learn a bit more about you. So just to introduce me really quickly and my story and how I got to be on this call today. So my journey started quite young. I grew up in Portsmouth. There's some lovely cheesy photos on the screen there. I was a very happy child growing up. I grew up in a pretty standard working class family. My mum worked in the school canteen. My dad was a bricklayer. And I knew I was quite a creative, entrepreneurial kid. So for my 10th birthday, I asked for a greenhouse, which I then used to grow fruit and veg. And I sold it on subscription to all of my neighbours. So I knew that I had that kind of entrepreneurial flair within me. And that flair or that energy that I had was really incubated when I got involved in a program in my hometown of Portsmouth called COPS, and it stands for the Council of Portsmouth Students. And it was this remarkable program that brought together young people that wanted to drive change in the city, regardless of background. So we had state schools represented, independent schools, pupil referral units, SEN schools. Everybody had an equal voice around the table. And this program completely changed my life. It gave me that first opportunity to genuinely feel like my voice was valued and appreciated. Here's me, aged 14, at with the Minister for Education, I should say, at 10 Downing Street, part of the government sex education review. So this program took me from being a happy but relatively reserved young person to being in a place where I felt confident to be able to articulate my views and to feel like my voice really did matter. And it taught me so many skills that I now kind of treasure and really care about today. Fast forward 2 years, I'm 16 at this point, and Portsmouth cut 73% of its youth service, including the Council of Portsmouth Students, the programme that had completely changed my life. I was absolutely heartbroken. And I was left with these kind of three things to contend with. There was no budget left to keep this programme alive. I was going into my early GCSEs convinced I was going to fail French, and I didn't. It was a miracle. Third and finally, I had no adults, no support network around the Council of Portsmouth Students and this incredible programme that was giving young people a voice and a platform. So I felt incredibly stuck, and I remember my head of year 10 pulling me aside to the enterprise suite in our school and saying, Hayden, I can tell there's something not right. What's going on? And I think for the first time in front of a head teacher and my head of year, I just burst into tears, and it felt like social suicide at the time. But I was just devastated that this had happened to me. It happened on my watch whilst I was involved in this incredible programme. And my head of year asked me, what was it that was really playing on my mind? And it came down to the fact that it was happening on my watch, that the next generation wouldn't get the same opportunity to have their voices listened to be given a platform to genuinely drive change. So I decided to do something about it. I was 16 and 3 days old, and when I first incorporated the social enterprise, I walked into the local accountant's office and said, I need you to help me find a way, a vehicle to keep this programme alive. That was nearly 25 years, the programme started nearly 25 years ago now, and the social enterprise has been around for 12 years. So that was a long, long time ago, and Unlock has been born at the back end of that journey. So I certainly never intended to craft a career in participation or co-production or creating the platforms that enable young people to not just get ahead, but to get their voices activated. But it came from my own lived experience of growing up in Portsmouth. And since then, I have tackled people's perception that I'm the little boy in a suit that doesn't have the credibility to contribute. It's certainly not been easy, but we're now in a place where we've gone from being a fun idea to an organisation that supports more than 25,000 young people all across the region, and is recognised for our kind of game-changing work platforming young people. Okay, I want to move into a question now. And a reflection, I guess, or an agitation. Why do we really deliver for young people rather than with young people? Why do public services find ourselves kind of falling into that trap? And we know it's happening all across the country. In one British town, a council unveiled a new state-of-the-art skate park, which was met with lots of fanfare, but they hadn't actually consulted any young people or indeed local skaters. And turns out they'd installed ramps that were too steep and too short to actually be really usable, surfaces that weren't really smooth enough to be able to skate on, and a bizarre kind of gravel pit that became known the skate park of sadness, which I think is really fascinating. And that there was also a similar case study of a local council that decided to repurpose a disused library and turn it into a youth centre. And it became ultimately a room filled with rows of bookshelves, a quiet zone, a solitary computer terminal, and the young people who were expecting a vibrant space with things to engage with were less than impressed. And one teenager at the launch actually remarked, it's like a library, but with actually fewer books and with more awkward silence. And I think this is just a really interesting reflection of where we are. And influence and change for young people often feels like it's beyond their reach, or for those with privilege. Those who understand where power coalesces are those that are able to leverage it. So a challenge for me is, how do we create systems and mechanisms to dismantle that perspective and democratize access. Only 34% of young adults aged 16 to 24 have engaged in any type of civic activity in this country. And that gets even more acute when you look at young people from disadvantaged backgrounds, which then filters down to about 23% of young people. Some of the factors playing into that is a sense of lack of permission. You know, where can I, you know, how do I contribute, and can I contribute and share on the things that I'm receiving? This sense of them being a consumer rather than a participant in society, and equally skills and confidence, young people's capability to feel able to voice their thoughts and their ideas. Those are the things that kind of keep me up at night, and are key issues that we're trying to tackle at Unlock. I thought I'd just show you a quick video to bring some of our work to life. Hopefully this plays for you okay.
Hayden, I'm not sure we can hear the sound with it. You might need to play it with sending the sound through.
Is it not coming through, guys? I can't.
I think we're just getting the visual but no audio, and your eyebrows.
Okay. That is a very unfortunate combo. In which case I will send the link round afterwards, guys. Apologies. Okay, let's move into a quick conversation then. Again, I want to use the chat box here. Meaningful engagement with young people. And I don't want to talk about co-production just yet, but just meaningful engagement with young people, particularly in the context of shaping NHS services. What is it and what is it not? I just want to invite some perspectives on this. I'm really interested in whether, you know, what people's perception of what it is not is, as much as I am interested in people's perspective of what it is. What does meaningful engagement really look like? Would love to get some of those perspectives coming in the chat box. Thank you, Sally. Different but similar. Interesting. I love that. Nothing about us without us. Principle for the work with. Yeah, absolutely. It actually leads to change. Yes, I agree. So that, you know, you can listen to those that you seek to serve, but if you don't do anything with that insight, yeah, and that's coming through quite a bit, and that is a challenge for us when we're trying to influence statutory services, is that whilst we can get genuinely insightful perspectives from young people, services don't always want to listen or want to change. That is a real challenge. Seeking their voices, actioning and closing the feedback loop. Not already having decided the outcome, absolutely. So we certainly don't want tokenism playing in here. Listening and doing instead of listening and ignoring the points, yes. Yeah. Acting on the recommendations, yeah, absolutely. It's moving beyond just listening to what they have to say and moving to the place where you let that inform the way that you do things. And perhaps my wording's not strong enough there. It's not about letting that inform your work. It's about proactively seeking to include that insight in the way that you design the service. Awesome. Thank you, everybody. Lots of really good perspectives. Change takes too long for young people, especially if government as well. I would agree with you. I think young people are optimistic about how quickly change can happen, and can sometimes feel frustrated when change is caught up in lots of bureaucracy, in slow decision making, and perhaps they might not yet have had an experience of working in a complex organisation like an NHS trust. We certainly see that playing out with certain youth board members, for example, where their expectation of how quickly change happens is different to what might actually be realistic. So managing expectations is really important. Okay, I want to move the question on. Why should the trust care? What's the point? I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but just words on a postcard. Why should the trust care about this? Why should we bother creating the space, the time, the investment to really listen to the perspectives of other people? Thank you, Sally. Problems won't be overcome without young people's input. Future, absolutely. Love this. Design services for the future, not for right now. Completely agree. Always being future looking. Absolutely. And I think people's assumption are that it's all about, just using young people's perspectives to shape service design for the future. And I think that is a critical component part of it. But there's also a bunch of additional value that's delivered as a result of being an organisation that works alongside people. That's about engagement. That's about connecting with your communities so that they feel comfortable with accessing your services. It's about a positive sign of intent. It's about the culture that then creates for your whole organisation. So the people working inside the NHS Trust, if they're in an environment where they proactively are looking to invite dissent, where they're proactively looking to invite constructive feedback, that doesn't just land at the door of the young people who are sharing their perspectives. That lands across the whole organisation. It's a cultural thing. So I think the benefits are far and wide beyond just the services that they are able to shape. Okay, flipping this then, what about young people? Why do you think young people care? Now, I've asked the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Healthcare Youth Board why they care, and I've got their answers on a postcard. But first of all, I would love to just get your perspectives. Why do you think young people care? Why do you think they go out of their way to give up their evenings, their weekends, to be part of this youth board to help shape the future of the NHS Trust? Why do you think young people care? Why do they step forward? Answers on a postcard. Good, just to get your reflections on this. What do you think? Thank you, because they've got lived experience to share. Interesting reflection, John. Some of them don't, absolutely. They want to improve things for others. Absolutely. I love that, Maria. Certainly for some young people, they have a love of humanity and want to contribute. Absolutely. Okay, lots of really great perspectives there. I should say I'm also totally up for people unmuting and sharing with off their mic. So if you think you've got a contribution you'd like to make, do just pop your hand up, and I'd be really, really willing. In fact, would embrace hearing some people's perspectives outside of the chat box as well. There are a variety of reasons why young people put themselves forward, but these are some of the most common things that have come up from our youth board. They want to learn how to translate something they're passionate about into action. We hear this time and time again. Young people were angered by what was happening with George Floyd and what they saw happening around the world in terms of racism and discrimination, and they felt deeply frustrated that they had no mechanism to convert that passion or indeed that anger into positive action. So platforms like the Youth Board gave them that opportunity to turn it into positive action. It boosts their own knowledge, their skills and understanding. They felt more heard and more confident in expressing their views. This is quite a simple one. They got to meet new people, grow their networks, make friends, and they're more inspired and engaged to develop themselves and their communities as a result. These are just some of the reflections we've had directly back from youth board members about why they chose to step forward. And something I should mention is that we are always oversubscribed in terms of the number of young people who put their hands up and say that I want to be part of the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Healthcare Youth Board consistently. We have just over 20 spaces. We have in the past tried to limit numbers so that it can be a really productive group. We always consistently get more than 50 applications from young people who want one of those youth board places from across both the county and indeed on the island. So there are absolutely young people out there that are deeply passionate about contributing. Okay, so what does good participation look like? Well, I think we've kind of touched on this with some of your reflections, but some of my reflections are that it's about meaningful mechanisms in which we can engage young people's voices, but not only that, we can build community connection with them. We give them platforms and opportunities to lead on the things that they really care about. So it's not just about the NHS Trust saying, here are a bunch of things we care about. It's also about inviting young people to talk about the things that are on their mind when it comes to the healthcare services they receive, and giving them the platform to be able to lead on those things. And then finally, it's about also embedding that voice right the way up to a governance level. And we're really pleased that we've got a young person on the Council of Governors at the Trust as well. Okay, I'm conscious it's been 37 minutes since this session started. I'm going to give you a really quick break now. So I'm a big believer giving people time away from the screen, also toilet breaks, etc. So I'm going to give people just 2 minutes, and then when we come back, I'm going to spotlight the work we're actually doing with the Trust, and I'm going to share with you some top tips to do co-production well into the future. So 2 minutes, we'll be back at 16:39. Run to the loo, grab a cuppa, take your eyes off the screen, whatever works for you. 2 minutes, and then we'll be back.
Can't hear any of them now. Oh,
I can't hear anything.
Your
it's
audio,
just
Hayden.
come back
I'm
in, I
back.
think.
I'm back.
Sorry, Hayden, were you talking then? Because I don't think people heard the first bit. Oh,
Can you hear me now, guys?
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll start again. So can you give me a thumbs up if you can hear me? Yeah, good stuff. Thank you, everybody. Hope you managed to run to the loo, grab a cuppa, whatever you needed to do. So I wanted to spotlight the work that the Trust is doing in partnership with us to engage young people, and particularly young service users, and some of the really positive, proactive work that we're doing in this space. And fundamentally, it's about connecting young people to the services they're receiving, but also influencing decision making and service design at the Trust. That's a critical. That's at the heart, really, of what we're trying to achieve. You can see some of the objectives of the work on the screen here, and it's not a singular objective around young people's voices. There's a lot to it. Yes, we're trying to give young people a voice, but we're also trying to create an evidence base when we're looking at decision making, so that we're doing that based on young people's perspectives, not just on what we think they might think. It's about engaging with communities, even with high level issues and decision making. How can we take those complex things that we're grappling with and actually engage the community in looking at those? Ultimately, it should lead to improved services. If we consult and engage with young people and co-produce with young people, those services should, in theory, be better suited to young people. And at the same time, the Youth Board delivers a single place for consultation, so that the Trust has a mechanism in which it can hear a diverse range of perspectives from a range of young people of different ages from across both the county and the island. What does that look like in practice? Well, there's a hive of activity happening. We have an incredible Youth Board, which I've mentioned briefly, with young people from all across the region. They both bring their own projects to the table, so priorities they want to work on, as well as the Trust using the Youth Board as a vehicle to systematically engage young people on key priorities. We also have an incredible health and wellbeing roadshow that is reaching out to young people across the patch. So those events go out into communities, each of them engaging more than 50 young people. Sorry, did somebody jump in on that? No, I think we're all good. Those young people engage in learning more about local services. During those roadshows, they feed into key service design questions, and ultimately they then should leave that roadshow being a positive advocate for those services and almost becoming a health and wellbeing ambassador for their school. Well, we're then feeding young people through into the Council of Governors, where young people are able to contribute to decision making at the highest level within the Trust. And then finally, on that right-hand side, there's something I think is really innovative and really powerful, is we have a small number of micro grants that enable young people to not just come up with their own health and wellbeing projects, but to bring them to life. And we deliver support and mentoring around that individual, that young person, to help them convert their health and wellbeing ideas into tangible community impact. What does that look like in practice? Well, we've got a thriving Youth Board with a range of different types of service users involved. We've now got a young person on the Council of Governors. We're connecting young people with the local services that they need to access. Looking back on the last couple of years, young people were part of shaping the new Trust strategy, especially as Project Fusion developed. That might feel like a distant memory, but I thought it was worth spotlighting their input in what was a key moment for the Trust development. Feeding into the AGM where possible. They designed the new young people's immunisation approach alongside the service, in terms of how we should educate young people about immunisations, including the communications plan that sat alongside that. We've seen young people running incredible wellbeing projects through the microgrants initiative, including a community cooking project in Aldershot, a wellbeing terrace in Eastleigh, wellbeing workshops in Alton, and sport and talk sessions for young refugees in Southampton. Just some of the incredible projects being driven by young people. More recently, those young people have been shaping and influencing how the trust engages with other young people on vaping, how to actually talk about it with young people, how they communicate its dangers, and the mediums and channels with which the trust should utilise. And equally, supporting the work on healthy lifestyles that the trust is doing. How do we help young people understand what it means to live a healthy lifestyle? And the Youth Board actually creating peer-to-peer messaging, podcasts, social media, and flyers to get that message out to other young people. So that's an awful lot of stuff going on there. I can see a question in the chat, so I'll go to that. How did you get interested in young people in the first place? Was it through schools? That's a great question. So as I mentioned, we've had over 50 applications for the Youth Board, and the recruitment strategy is broad and diverse. So it's schools, it's colleges, it's home educated groups, it's faith groups, youth groups, and there's a 3-month recruitment campaign, which is all about building awareness of the opportunity. And it's also cascaded across Unlock's network, which is far reaching in terms of young people across the county and indeed on the island. So it's not about expecting young people to come to us. It's very much about us recruiting young people from where they are. Great question. Thank you for that. Okay, I'm super conscious of the time, and I did promise finishing at least a little bit early today. So what can we distill? What have we learned from the work that we've been doing with young people on co-production? There's some key things on the screen there that I kind of want you to take away. Intentionality, layering, guided agency, inviting dissent, co-production, and taking action. So I'm just going to do a really quick whistle-stop tour of these key factors that influence an enabling environment for co-production. First of all, intentionality. That's about building young people's voices into every phase of programme delivery, from service design right the way through to actually making it happen. We have to be really clear on young people's remit, role, and opportunity to influence and change things. When we set young people up to fail by telling them they can change everything within a service, it's demoralizing for both them and indeed for those that are shaping the service. So being upfront and honest with young people about where the opportunity for influence and change is really powerful. That doesn't mean you don't invite perspectives on the service as a whole, but it's about not setting them up to fail by promising things that can't be delivered. Being transparent with data and information that might actually make those discussions more insightful, particularly with young people. I often find that we kind of dumb down the information we give young people and expect them to be able to contribute at the same level as somebody who has access to data, who has access to information. So being really transparent with that information is really important. Moving on to the component number 2, layering, recognizing that different layers of engagement are required to engage a variety of young people. Not every young person across the county and the island is going to step forward to be part of the Youth Board, and that's okay. We need to layer different types of opportunity for different types of voices and indeed different types of young people to be heard, right the way from broader engagement and consultation through to meaningful co-production, much like the Youth Board is leading. Guided agency. This was kind of touched on in my first principle, but being open and honest about the remit or influence of change and helping young people understand the context with which your service or your project operates within. So spending that time to educate them about how the service currently operates, what the restrictions are, what the opportunities are. There's a really simple diagram on the screen there, but defining what's out of control, what are the things that you can influence, and what are fully within your control. So taking that time to help young people understand that before you invite their input is really important. Invite dissent. So focus on the questions that are going to actually help you improve your practice rather than the responses that will affirm what you already think to be true. I've seen this happen a lot, you know, where young people are consulted and they ask, you know, the question is, don't you agree that X? Or have you found Y? Instead, ask questions like, if you had to change one thing about how I delivered this today, what would it be? Or if you had to change one thing about the experience you had with this service, what would it be? Starting to invite intentional dissent rather than affirming what you think to be true. And then finally, co-production and co-design is the gold standard for any meaningful engagement with young people. So where it's possible, give young people the opportunity to take the lead, to give them that chance to not just have their voice heard, but to be with you on the entire journey and to support the delivery of the outcomes that you want. So if it's a communication campaign around vaping, for example, how can we invite young people not just to share their perspectives, but then to work with your communications team to design the materials that land in the laps of young people all across the region? And then finally, and this came up really early on in our reflections, the questions I asked you to pop answers to in the chat, it is no good inviting young people's insights if we don't then do something about it. So take action and shout loudly. Make sure that those insights are shared far and wide. Just a few things that you could think about are whole team hackathons, where you invite young people to work directly with those that are shaping the service, creating insight sessions, and indeed connect with bid writers where the restrictions of an existing contract limit the project's potential. You know, if we think about some of the services that the Trust delivers, you've got to bid for those, you've got to set the remit out early. Is there an opportunity, if we think the current service delivery prevents young people's participation, to actually work with young people to reimagine how that bid is positioned moving into the future? I was going to do an applied scenario now where I was going to get you into teams and get you thinking about how we might apply that in the context of something that the Youth Board has been spending a lot of time thinking about. How do we address the youth vaping crisis? But alas, time is fast running out, and I'm very cognizant of the fact that the World Cup game is just upon our door. So I'm just going to wrap up by saying we have a fabulous tool to help you get your heads around this and to move from some of these principles into action, and it's called the Youth Voice Canvas. It breaks down some of the things that I've spoken about into a practical tool. You can see it on the screen there. And there's an accompanying guide to help you use this as somebody designing a service or indeed a program. So we will share that with you. And there you go. There's a QR code. If you scan it, you'll get a copy of that Youth Voice Canvas and the guide. You'll see some of the questions. It's from a recent conference that we ran for colleges. So ignore the questions that aren't relevant. But if you put your name and email address in, scanning that QR code, we will send the Youth Voice Canvas out to you. Now, I appreciate that not all of you are in delivery capacity roles, and therefore this won't be relevant. That's why I've offered it as an optional added value for you. And I'll very happily get that emailed across to those that are interested in it. So starting to kind of wrap up then, hopefully you're leaving this call with greater awareness of Unlock, of our partnership with the Trust, the work of the Youth Board, the work that we're doing to reach out into communities across the county and the island to hear young people's perspectives through the roadshow. Hopefully some of the principles of co-production have landed as well, whether that's either as a reminder and reinforcement or indeed as an agitator for those that are going on that journey. Please do stay in touch. You can follow Unlock on all our social media channels, and you can follow me on LinkedIn, and I'll be sharing a lot of those stories of the incredible work that the young people at the Trust are doing. And yes, absolutely, John, I'll pop the link in the chat box as well for you. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you in just kind of 40 minutes or so. Hopefully I've brought that to life for you, and that's been of some value. I hope that it's been of some use and that it's a good omen for what will be a great result at the football game today. And I will hand back over to the team at the Trust. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
Hayden.
you so much, Hayden.
Thank you.
Has anyone got any questions for Hayden just before we wrap up? We will, just to confirm, we will be sending out both presentations from James and Hayden today. And thank you, Hayden, for the interactiveness of it. I did see a few hands pop up during the session, so if we do have time for like maybe one question, if anyone wants to ask one. If not, oh yeah, Viv, I did see your hand pop up a few times, Viv. Yeah, please, would you like to say something? You might need to come off mic.
Yeah. I just need to apologise. I've got visual issues, so I can't use the chat box, and it comes up very quickly.
Oh, I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry about that. We can send you a transcript if that would help, or is that gonna?
No, I could hear it all, and
you can hear it.
all. When there's chat going on, I can't see it.
Yeah,
so
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up to us. Yeah, thank you. Dawn, did you have something?
It was just a comment, really. Thanks, Hayden. That was a great presentation. Thank you. I just wanted to say that I'm sure a lot of you are aware that it's co-production week, so we've got lots of activities and events going on this week. One of the things that we'd hoped to fit in, but we are postponing, is Hayden's going to host a mix and mingle where we actually invite some of the young people in to meet some of the key decision makers in the trust. So I'm very much looking forward to that, and that'll take place over the next few weeks, hopefully.
Thank you, Dawn. Viv?
Yes, can I just make you aware, I've been involved in co-production projects with Academy of Training that's based at Portsmouth, St Mary's Hospital. It's an amazing service. They do really good co-production training. I've done I'm a service user. I've recently done a fully co-produced project with Southampton Crisis Team. From start to finish, it's co-produced.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us, and I'm glad that went well, and well done for doing the training, and thank you. Thank you very much.
Still going. Thank you.
I'm sure we'll want to hear more about that at some point, so do keep in touch with us. Sally?
Yeah, it's just a comment. Just say well done, Hayden. I'm actually part of about 8 different co-production groups around the UK, all NHS or government. And quite often people think they're doing co-production, but actually it's not. They've identified a problem, they've worked out how they want to fix it, but they're just getting a range of voices to agree with how they want to fix the problem. So yes, it's definitely from the ground up. Yeah, you identify a problem, but you get everyone within your group to come up with ideas on how to fix it. And that's why you need a diverse range of things. So I was pleased with what Hayden was saying. Definitely, that's what proper co-production should be.
Thank you, Sally.
Thanks, Sally.
Thank you.
Yeah, really good reflection, and it's not always easy, Sally. I think it's worth acknowledging that it's hard work, particularly when you're operating within the restraints of a large organisation. But we're gonna keep pushing that narrative that you need to invite dissent in order to get better outcomes. But yeah, thank you, Sally. That was a really helpful reflection.
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you to James as well. So I'll bring this members event to a close. Just 2 more things to remind you of. I'm just going to put in the chat a feedback form on this event, but I will also be sending out an email with both presentations and the request for feedback, and also the recording from today's session, and I will probably do a little summary as well based on using our wonderful AI Copilot to do a little summary. Viv, if you want to keep in touch with us about how we can make these more accessible as well, please do. It would be good to have some input on that, on how we can make these sessions more accessible. So I'm just putting that in the chat now. And also just a reminder, well, it's not a reminder at all, it's an announcement to say that our next event is actually going to be our annual members event. It's our annual members meeting, and you'll hear it here first that the date is, and I can't remember what the day is, but it's the 24th of September, but it's a save the date for the 24th of September. That will be an in-person event, venue to be confirmed and time to be confirmed, but one for your diaries right now. I think it's a Wednesday or a Thursday, or it could be a Tuesday. Is it a Wednesday?
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you. If there's nothing else to say, then I would once again thank you so much for the interest you've shown today. Thank you again, Hayden, and thank you, James. And go on, England. Let's get a win, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vera.
Thank you. Amanda,
Bye.
did you have a call quickly? Oh, she's gone. Amanda, oh, there's a clap from Amanda.
Yeah. I just wanted to say thank you very much. We weren't allowed to use the chat. It's been disabled by our organisation.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that.
But I really look forward to seeing the slides because it's been ever so useful. So thank you.
Thank you. Amanda, which organisation are you from?
Solent Mind.
Solent Mind.
NHS Talking Therapies.
Oh, that's a real shame. We'll make sure we'll send some. Well, you're on the list, so I'll send all that out to you. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you ever so much. Take care.
No worries. Goodbye now. Thank you. All right.
Hello, Andy.
Andy's got a fan there. Is that Viv?
No, I know him.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan. I just know him.
Oh.
I'm his wife's friend.
Oh, Susie, lovely.
Yeah, of course,
Good.
for a long time.
Right, you can all go and watch the football now if you need to.
I ain't watching football.
No one's watching the football. Well, it's a good time to go shopping or go out for a walk, go and have some dinner. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Goodbye now.
Bye. He's gone. Can't.
There we go. He's gone. You can't stalk him anymore.
He's trying to. I think he's trying to unmute himself, but he couldn't.
Oh, was he? Oh, bless him. Right.
Brilliant.
Hold on.
I thought I'd just hang on there in case you had queries or anything.